Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Titania Harris, QA/QI Program Manager. If you have to submit an RNI, this presentation will walk you through the process. Let's review the RNI submission process, but first let's go over some information. First, an RNI is a reportable new information submission. Submitting a reportable new information to the IRB is required to ensure continued ethical oversight and regulatory compliance in human subjects research. The PI would submit an RNI for several reasons, including unanticipated problems involving risk to participants or others. If an event occurs that is unexpected, related to the research, and increases risk, it must be reported. Serious or continuing non-compliance. Any major deviation from the approved protocol, regulations, or institutional policies, especially if repeated or deliberate, should be reported. Protocol deviations or violations. Any departure from the approved IRB protocol, such as enrolling an ineligible participant missing consent, may require reporting, particularly if it affects participant safety or data integrity. However, these violations can be submitted during the continuing review, depending on the type of approval your study has and the type of violation. I'm going to ask that you review your IRB approval letter for additional information, or you may contact the IRB for a clarification. Another example is safety information. Information that might affect the risk-benefit profile of the study, like new findings from the sponsor or FDA alerts, must be reported. Changes in investigator. If there's a change in the principal investigator or key personnel without prior IRB approval, it may warrant an RNI. Now again, this depends on the type of approval your study has, so review your IRB approval letter for additional information, or you may contact the IRB for clarification. Breach of confidentiality or data security incident. Accidental disclosures, loss of identifiable data, or cybersecurity incidents involving research data must be reported. Audit inspection or inquiry results. If a regulatory agency like USF/QA/QI, the FDA, or OHARP conducts an inspection or audit that results in findings related to IRB oversight, an RNI must be submitted. Follow instructions from the auditor when submitting those types of RNI. Again, an RNI is a reportable new information submission. Serious deviations, serious non-compliance, should be submitted via an RNI SmartForm and BullsIRB. Reports should include a detailed description of the event and outcome, as well as a description of any changes to the protocol or other corrective actions taken to prevent recurrence. Failure to submit serious deviation, serious non-compliance within 5 business days constitutes non-compliance with the USF HRPP policy. It is strongly suggested, as the IRB may ask for a detailed plan, that you submit and work on a corrective preventative action plan. QA/QI has CAPA guidance document located in the BullsIRB homepage. Now, to reiterate, the investigator is ultimately responsible for ensuring the prompt reporting of protocol deviations that impact the rights, safety, and welfare of subjects and/or the integrity of the study data. Remember, the CAPA information needs to be submitted with the RNI. While developing and implementing your CAPA plan, ask the following who, what, where, how, and when questions. Once you have this information together, now it's time to submit your RNI. Remember, if your study is being overseen by an external IRB, commercial IRB, central IRB, through a reliance agreement, you are required to report to both the external IRB and the USF IRB. Contact the external IRB directly to determine their reporting requirements and timelines. USF IRB must be kept informed of any relevant updates, issues, or reportable events, even if the commercial IRB is the reviewing IRB. Remember, always check with the commercial IRB and the USF IRB before making decisions about reporting. To start your RNI submission, you will go to the BullsIRB landing page and click the Login in the upper right-hand corner. Click My Inbox and select the appropriate study. In the Study workspace, click the Reportable New Information tab to complete the Reportable New Information page. Pay attention to the following questions: related studies and modifications. Select any studies or modifications that the RNI replies to. Now note, you cannot relate sites external studies unless the external study is part of a multi-site study or follow-on submissions, except for modifications, which can be added to the parent study to an RNI. Once you're in the RNI submission page, you're going to enter the short title. Using the study number as a unique identifier for the RNI may be helpful when relocating the RNI, and then you will enter the date you became aware of the event. For question 3, you are to identify the categories that represent the RNI. You will select the risk box if the RNI is related to risks, such as new, increase, or safety issue. You can review the examples A through F to help you determine if the RNI is related to risk. You will select the harm box if the RNI is related to harm, such as any harm experienced by a subject that is unexpected and at least related to the research procedure. This is in the opinion of the PI. You can review the examples A through B to help you determine if the RNI is related to harm. You may select multiple boxes, but please note that if the RNI was revealed during a USF QA/QI inspection or audit, you're required to select the audit box in addition to the other applicable boxes. Review all sections prior to selecting to be sure they fit the reason for the RNI. Again, you can select multiple boxes. If none of the selections fit the reason for your RNI, please select Other. Please review the USF Investigator Manual for reporting requirements. In Item 4, you will briefly describe the information from the CAPA. Remember the following CAPA questions: the who, what, where, how, and when. This information needs to be added here to briefly describe the RNI. Now, if the RNI requires revisions to study documents, please describe those revisions here also. And after this RNI submission, submit a modification for IRB review. If you have a modification to submit due to the RNI, remember you cannot relate sites external studies unless the external study is part of a multi-site study or follow-on submissions to RNIs. But for a modification, remember you can relate this RNI to the parent study. In Item 5, this is for the PI to determine if the information indicates a new or increased risk or safety issue, if the protocol, investigator brochure, or consent requires revision because of the RNI. PI or PI proxy should respond yes or no to each question. Then, in 6, you will upload the CAPA and any other supporting information. Once you are done, at the bottom of the page, you will click Continue and Finish to exit the form. You're still not done. this action doesn't submit your application to the IRB. On the next page, to submit the RNI, you will need to click the Submit activity under Next Steps. Click OK to agree to the terms and type your login credentials and click Submit. Only the PI or PI proxy can submit an RNI. There you go. Your RNI has been submitted to the IRB. After reviewing the RNI, the IRB may require specific actions be taken and assign a responsible party to do so, so please review your email for notifications from BullsIRB. To find your RNI, go to the Submissions page and then the Follow on Submissions tab, or to find your RNI, you can click the Submission shortcut. Again, if the IRB has any questions reading your RNI application, you will be notified via an email notification. Please log into BullsIRB and respond to all IRB requests fully before submitting your clarification or changes back to the IRB. Once your RNI application is approved, you will be notified via email, and you can log into BullsIRB to view your approval letter. If you require additional support with any questions in the BullsIRB application, you can click the question mark icon after the questions. I am hopeful that you now understand how to submit an RNI in BullsIRB system. If after this presentation you still have questions or need any help, please reach out to the HRPP programs. Thanks for giving me some of your time. Again, please contact the IRB if you require additional support.